Hello and welcome to Yacht Otter, our Jeanneau 379. This is your charter handover. So let's start down below. So here we are in the forepeak. What have we got here? So obviously we've got a double berth here. We've got our 1 kilogram dry powder fire extinguisher just on the port side in the shelf. A couple of reading lights, as you can see here. Underneath the berth itself we've got 1 water tank, and also then further forward there's storage underneath the right forward under the forepeak. That is where the storm jib is stowed. As you can see, we pulled out the life jackets and strops. Again, there are 6 strops and there are 8 life jackets. So again, these are fairly high specification life jackets, nice and comfy. They've got their strong point here for your strop. They're fully automatic. They've got a hood, they've got a light and a whistle inside. So there they are, 8 of those, 6 of those. Obviously we've got hanging locker space. We've got these cupboards here and a hanging locker on the side. Nice big hatch, of course, which makes sure is closed when we go to sea. Okay, so into the saloon now. On this starboard side, let's take a look at the cushions first of all, in that there's storage underneath here. So if I remove these cushions here and then just open up this locker, you can see that we've got the tool kit, we've got a socket set there, and the engine spares. So there's filters, belts and seawater impeller. Also stowed in the bottom there, I can see, are the cable cutters. So just in case. So there we go. So that lives in there. So let's put that together. You've got storage. These little lockers here are all for storage. You can see another 2 just a little bit further aft here. Yeah. And you've got the fire blanket sitting here on this shelf. Just on this bulkhead here, we can see we've got a 3-pin supply. So when you're on shore power, we've got a 3-pin supply. And we've also got the Webasto heater control unit, and you can see it's just got a little power button at the bottom there. So just set your temperature, make sure that this is on warm, set that up, and then simply press this button here to get the old heater going. So that's your cabin heater. Underneath these cushions here, I just want to show you, because here is the water tank switchover. So currently you can see we've got this one is open. So this one is the forward tank. This rear tank is closed at the moment, and so that's closed. So in the event of you draining one tank, clearly, you know, the water pump's going to be going. There's going to be spluttering, just air coming out of the taps. So in the event of that, just switch off the water pump, close this one by turning it 90 degrees, and then simply open that one, and you're back in business. You're on your second tank. Okay, just to show you then, underneath this berth we have the clarifier here, and what I wanted to show you was right at the back there we've got a big seacock. I can see the handle just here, and that handle is, and seacock is, for the drain for the galley sinks. So that's an important one just to point out. Okay, and that's the old hot water tank there. All right, so finally on this side, this berth can be converted into a double berth. So how do we go about doing that? I'm just going to put these cushions back in. Okay, here we go. So what you have is these 2 levers here. So what we can do is lift these up and click them in. There we go. And this one here, click it in. There we go. And then this infill lifts. So let me just show you that. So lift this up, click. This one folds over. In she goes. And then we've got the infill. Just stick that in there. There we go. There we go, and we've got a nice big double berth there. This infill I usually stow in one of the aft cabins, just up alongside the engine bulkhead. So there you go. So port side saloon. We've got a nice bit of storage underneath these berths. I usually stow the life jackets and strops underneath here, those that aren't being used. This one I'm going to show you because underneath this one we've got a great big seacot, and that is the exit for the holding tank and loo. So if you wanted to use the holding tank, you would simply close this seacock off, and then the holding tank would fill, and then if you went out to sea, of course, when you go out to sea, you can empty the holding tank simply by opening it up again. Its default is open, frankly, you know, so that's going to be going straight to the sea. Okay, just storage behind here, as you can see, and we've got a Cat C first aid kit. That is also an older one that got open, so it's still on board, but that's the obviously working one. Ship's papers are all in this satchel here. Let's just take a look in this locker. Here we have another 1 kilogram dry powder fire extinguisher, and we have all the pilots, so Pembrokeshire pilots, Irish, Scilly Isles and so on. In here you can see binoculars and torches. Most of these torches are going to be in the ship's box, of course, when you pick it up from the office. And here we have a daily first aid kit, and you can see the foghorn sound signalling device just there. Okay, up on the shelf we've got, well, the red ensign is sitting here at the moment. We've got a handheld VHF sitting here, and we've got a nice big lantern just sitting here. The almanac, so that's all there. Okay, let's move on to the switch panel then. So fairly straightforward actually, in that you've got these 3 switches are all for shore power. So if you wanted to warm up the water, then whack that on. The battery charger is running at the moment, so we've got loads of juice in the batteries, and this is for your 3-pin plugs. Okay, so moving on to the 12-volt system. So cabin lights, so this is the master switch for the cabin lights. So until this one is put on, none of the cabin lights are going to work. So make sure that one's on. This is your fridge. This is actually a tricolour on top of the mast. So at night, if you were under sail, then you could show red, white and green at the top of the mast. This one's the domestic water pump, so that would be on. So that's going to give you obviously fresh water at the galley and in the heads and the sinks. This one is your bilge pump, so we can put that on. You can hear it pumping away, I expect. So that's basically a manual job, so you're just literally putting it on there. Not manual, it's an automatic electric pump, but you're actually just putting it on. The alternative would be to rock it aft and you put it onto auto, and that means that it would have a float switch, and so when it comes up then it's going to kick in the bilge pump and bring it back down to level. Okay, Nav Instruments, let's flick those on. So we've got our navigation instruments. That's going to power up all the instruments out in the cockpit. So your Chartplotter, your depth sounder, your wind instrument, etc., will all be powered up there. And these 3 are all relating to lights on the vessel. So we've got a deck floodlight, we've got an anchor light, which is right on top of the mast, all round white, and then we've got our lower navigation lights. So if we were to rock that forward, we simply put on red and green on the bow and white on the stern. If we turn it off in the middle section, and then if we rock it aft, then we've got our nav lights. We also have our steaming light on, so if we were motoring at night, this is what we would show. So let's turn that off again. There we go. here we have our gauges. So this is the water tanks. So let's just fire that up. Just wake it up by giving it a press and then press it again. And we've got tank 1 and that is showing 3/4 full. Press it again. Tank 2, only half full. And then here we have fuel. So let's rock that across to fuel. Again, just 2/3 fuel. This one's a blank, this is just auxiliary. This one you can monitor your ship's batteries. So we'll have domestic batteries, press it again, and we've got engine batteries, all fully charged at the moment because of course we're on shore power. Okay, this is a little stereo, so this is just a little radio, so you can pop that on, listen to radio 2 or whatever you fancy. And this is your ship's VHF. So power button is also the volume button, so just press it on and it'll wake itself up. Press and hold and it'll wake itself up. Standard stuff, so we've got channel selection here, we've got a squelch here, and this is a DSC of course, so it's got the emergency button here. Here we have the MMSI number for it and her call sign. The reason that the Latin longitude hasn't yet come up on the screen is that we haven't powered up the GPS out in the cockpit. So the moment you turn on your Chartplotter, that will feed the position information down onto the radio. Good. Okay, so MMSI number as I say, and here we've got just the distress procedure card. Just to finish off, I forgot to show you this single berth conversion on the port side. What we can do is put this infill, just pop that in there, and then we've got an infill cushion that goes on top, and there you have yourself another single berth. You know, you can take these off to make it a little wider. Chart table as well, guys, of course. So in here you can stow all your plotting gear, you know, your Breton plotter, your dividers, pencils, etc., etc., most of which will be in the ship's box, along with your hand bearing compass, can all go and get stowed in the chart table. Okay, so here we are in the heads. First thing to show you is a nice shower with a little shower door here, which you can just close there. And of course we've got a shower drain, and that's activated by this switch here. So simply flick that on and it'll pump for about 5 seconds and then switch itself off. So give that you know, as many pumps as required. Behind this board here is the holding tank. You won't need to get in there, but that's where it is. That's stowed in there. Okay, so obviously we've got a sink. That's going to have a drain, of course, and that's underneath here, so you can see the seacock there for the little sink drain. Okay, so the loo, I'm sure you're all familiar with these types of loo. So it's just the pump, and what we have here, this is the important bit, in that we have a flush position, so flick it across to the flush position, flush away, give it a good 20 pumps or so, so give it get lots of water going, and then having flushed it out, put it back to the dry bowl position and pump it dry, and that's it. So it just comes out. And there she is, job done. As always, everybody, of course, don't put anything down the loo. So for paper and anything of that nature, pop it into a nappy bag, and you're going to find those in this cupboard here with your cleaner and your loo paper, etc. So just pop it in a bag and stow it in the bin underneath the sink. That's where I usually stow it. One more thing to show you then is there are 2 seacocks behind this, underneath this cover here. So the aftmost one is for the inlet for the loo. So that's open, it's in line with the fitting. The one slightly forward of that is the seacock for the shower drain. And what I usually do is have that closed when not in operation. It just saves a little bit of water sloshing about in here. So that's likely to be closed. So if you were to use this shower drain, make sure you open up the seacock before you start pumping it out. Once it's all nice and dry, then I would suggest closing the seacock again. All right, so that's in there. Okay, here we are in the galley. All fairly straightforward. You've got lots of nice storage space. You can see all these opening lockers here. In here we have the plates and bowls and so on. So all these are empty for your storage. Here we've got a nice big fridge, obviously, in there. So good job. Twin sinks. Beneath the sinks you've got this cupboard here. So rubbish bin, and you can see cleaning materials and so on in there. In this first drawer, cutlery and all those bits and pieces, and there's a nice big storage bin underneath there as well. Underneath the cooker we've got saucepans and so on, and we've also got a gas tap in there, so should you wish to isolate the cooker, that is where it is. I usually use the bottle outside, which I'm going to show you in a bit, so but there it all is. Okay, as far as the cooker is concerned, I'm sure you're all familiar, they've got flame failure devices on here. So once you've got the gas on at the bottle and the isolator is on, then simply turn 90 degrees, press and hold, light, and just hold for a few seconds to allow the heat sensor to warm up, release, and it'll keep burning. So nice and straightforward. Okay, so here I am in the Port Aft Cabin. Nothing very exciting in here really. There's a fire extinguisher, another 1 kilogram fire extinguisher here. You've got some power points up here, so you've got a cigarette 12 volt and your 3-pin plug 24 volt there. You've got obviously reading lights dotted around. Nice big cupboard here for your clothes and so on, and you do have access to the engine here, to the back of the engine. I'm not going to take that apart, we don't need to show you that right now, but there it is. Yeah, so nice and straightforward, this cabin. Okay, so this is the Starboard Off Cabin, almost a reflection of the Port Aft Cabin, but there's a few more bits and pieces to show you. But same in that it's got fire extinguisher, single 1 kilogram fire extinguisher, dry powder just there. We've got another nice big storage space in here. What I wanted to show you then is underneath this berth is the fuel tank. Underneath the Port Aft Cabin's berth is the second water tank, in fact, but this is the fuel tank, and we have a little seacock here for fuel switch off just here. So nice and simple. Okay. What I also wanted to show you is just underneath this here, we have the big seawater strainer access. So I'm going to show you the engine from the front end in a moment, but I just thought I'd just take this off here as well. And you can see the big strainer here. So if you had any trouble with your seawater, in that that slowed right down and you were only getting a dribble out of the exhaust, then what you might choose to do is take the lid off this, remove the big basket strainer, give it a clean, shove it back in and pop the lid back on. So that's cleaning your strainer. I just wanted to also show you here, so this is a sail drive unit. So this, rather than having a prop shaft, she's got a sail drive, and the seacock, the seawater inlet seacock, is actually this brass tap here on the leg. So it is just located right here. I can't imagine you needing to close it or look at it, but there it is, just in case. So lovely job. Also, just to point out, in the cabin here is the fact that the main battery switches are here. These can all remain on for the duration of your charter. So we can see we've got an engine battery, domestic battery, and a negative, common negative. Just leave them all on. You've also got the anchor windlass switch here. So here it is. And so in order to use the windlass, we're going to need to make sure that this is in its on position, which is down here. We have to have the engine running, and then it's live to the keypad, which is inside the anchor locker. So I'm going to point that out to you in a moment. Just for completion, this is your little gas alarm. So there's an active alarm with a sniffer underneath the cooker. So there is your gas alarm. Okay, so let's take a look at the engine. So on this vessel, the steps actually just lift up like this. Just missing the Galley here. And here we are. So a nice straightforward 3-cylinder Yanmar diesel. No turbos or anything, so nice and straightforward. Regular checks. So here you have your dipstick, and of course here are the belts, so you can keep an eye on the belts. So making sure that they're nicely tensioned, which all seems in order. We also have our seawater impeller. So this is the seawater impeller. So of course we've got a spare where I showed you with the tool boxes, so should you need to, there it is. Just towards the back of the engine, it's a little bit awkward to see, but there we've got it. That is the coolant, the engine coolant. That's looking a little low actually. I might just top that up a wee bit. So keep an eye on that. Just make sure you've got plenty of coolant in there, or up to the level anyway, between max and minimum. And just to show you too, if you wanted to top the oil up, you've got your little filler just here. So remember, don't overfill the motor with oil. So if you want to put a drop in it, then please do go ahead and then check it the next day when it's nice and cold again. Yeah, there we go. Just to finish off down below, what I forgot to show you was the switches for these cabin lights. So just here and here, so these are the main cabin lights that everybody misses. So these buttons, okay. To the engine, of course, make sure we look over the stern and make sure there's plenty of water coming over. Yep, all good. Okay, so here we are on deck of Otter, and we're going to just start right from the stern this time. So just looking on the transom, you can see the big shore power plug-in on the port side. So obviously remove that and put the nice big stainless steel cap on it, so it's watertight when you go to sea. And also we've got this lovely big swim platform here, and if I want to lower that, then if we go into this lazarette here, and firstly withdraw this bolt, so I'm just going to take that out, and then we've got this little line on this jammer here, so kick that out of the jammer, and then we can simply just, there we go, lay the old swim platform down. Lovely job, and off you go. We've just got a nice little shower here, just to show you. So that comes out of there, and we've got the controls here. So once you've had your swim on your swim platform, then you can give yourself a fresh water shower. Underneath this panel here is the life raft storage. So if I just come grasp those two and just lift that for you, there you go, you can see your life raft. You can just grab a hold of that and haul it out. These lines will have to come off before the life raft is pushed in the sea. So there you go, nice and simple. Good. As far as the man overboard kit, very standard stuff. We've got a nice big horseshoe here. We've got a light, LED light, that when it goes upright then it will start flashing. And we've got our Dan boy here. All that will go in as one big. This side, another horseshoe, another light. This one has a drogue just to keep it in position. The old Honda outboard is here on its position here. Underneath this lazarette then, in here we have the gas, and we'll have a spare cylinder there for you. So the on off is just on the top here, so literally just turn that clockwise as it is now and it's off. To open that gas up, just literally just turn that and she's on. So nice and open. So I'm going to close that off. I tend to close that when I'm not using it. So there she is. Good. Underneath, well, in this lazarette, I usually stow all the fenders. They sit in there beautifully. Look, lots of space in there. Or, you know, young children, that sort of thing. Good. Okay, moving to the helm positions then. So on this starboard side, we have our engine controls. So let's run through these. So I guess you're all familiar now with these Morse controls. So when it's in its vertical position, the engine's in neutral. Push it forward, you'll feel it click into gear. She's now going ahead. Give it more revs simply by pushing it further down. Drawing it back, click. She's still just ticking over, going ahead. Next position is neutral, and then pushing it aft, click, we go into astern. Push it further down for more revs astern. Okay, so from its neutral position then, what we could choose to do, particularly when the engine is cold as it is now, would be to engage the clutch by pushing in the red button, and we can put on some revs. And then moving to the little dashboard here, what we have is these 4 buttons essentially. So the top right is ignition, so let's just put on the ignition. To start the engine, you simply press that button again, and there she goes. Lovely job. So now I can draw off those revs. The little red button will pop out when we get to neutral. There she goes. And now the engine's ready to work, so ready to go into gear. So literally just pushing ahead, click, yep, off we go. And then clicking it astern, click, yep, off she goes. So all is working nicely. Okay, so to turn the engine off then, what we're going to do is use the bottom left. So this is engine stop. So let's do that. Can you see my finger? Sorry, there it is. And then simply turn the ignition off, which is bottom right. Okay, so I'll just go through that sequence very quickly again. So to start the engine, top right, 1 click, and then press again. To stop the engine, bottom left, stop, and then ignition off. Okay, so here on the starboard side we also have a couple of instruments. This bottom one here is showing depth 3.4 meters at the moment. That is measured from beneath the keel. So we've got a 2 meter draft. So the reality is we're in 5.4 meters of water. So that is clearance beneath the keel. We've got speed through the water here, and we've also got a trip log here. Second instrument, the top instrument, is our auto helm. So very straightforward. It simply has an engage button here, so simply press engage, and she's engaged now. You know, we can adjust, we can fine tune by sort of plus minus and etc. And then to take the instrument off, simply press standby. There we go, and we're back on there. So nice and simple. Nice little binnacle compass here. We have one at each of the helm positions, and the light for the binnacle compass is actually down at the engine switch here. So here we go. Yeah, so nice and simple. This is the little wheel lock, by the way, just to lock the helms when you're at anchor or in the pontoon. So nice and simple. Okay. Nice little binnacle compass here. We have one at each of the helm positions, and the light for the binnacle compass is actually down at the engine switch here. So here we go. Yeah, so nice and simple. This is the little wheel lock, by the way, just to lock the helms when you're at anchor or in the pontoon. So nice and simple. Okay. Here on the port side helm position, we've got another 2 instruments, the top one being our wind instrument, showing true wind speed, true direction, and we also have another depth sounder with speed over the ground information. This will come up once we've turned our GPS on and Chartplotter. Another compass here, otherwise that's it. And here we have our Chartplotter, this nice big new Garmin Chartplotter. It's got its power on button here, so I've just powered it up, and it's now just going through its little loading sequence. Here it comes, in your own time. So just agree to the fact that not to be used for navigation. There we go, and here we go. So let's go for charts. And navigation chart, ping, and there we go, and here we are in the marina. So all the normal functions, so zoom in, zoom out, popping in your waypoints, etc, etc. So there we have it. Okay, so let's have a look at the locker itself. Well, I'm going to show you this first of all, because this is quite nifty. This is where we stow the washboard. It slides in. See the handle just pops into a slot there, and she's nice and secure. Okay, what else have we got? So we've got our day shape. So we've got an anchor ball and the motoring cone. We've got our flare pack here. So we've got our 2 orange smokes, our 4 red rockets, and our 6 red handhelds, all in the canister here. We've got lots of spare walks, as you can see, and also lying in here is the dinghy kit. So we've got oars, we've got the thwart, and we've got the bellows for the dinghy. We've got spare oil, as you can see. We've got some spare coolant for the engine just here, and gearbox oil and so on. There's also a great big 2 kilogram fire extinguisher lying here. We have a kedge anchor also, so we have a kedge anchor. We've got about 8 meters of chain and then 50 meters of nylon attached to this kedge anchor. Also lying in the bottom here, this is actually the emergency tiller, and this tiller, its position is just right in the center there, so you just literally just take that little top off with a winch handle, just needs a quarter turn, and then you shove on your T-bar tiller, emergency tiller, and you're good to go again. Okay, I think that's about it in there. Okay, so for the remainder of the cockpit here, we've got this, obviously we've got this great big table, and these leads just click into position on either side, and we've got lots of stowage inside the table and at both ends in actual fact. Good, you can see winch handle pocket just here forward, and also just here to the stern with your big primary winches for the Jeanneau sheets. Let's have a little look up here at these clutches. Basically all lines come aft on this vessel, so we've got all these clutches. They're going to be well labelled up. They're looking a bit scruffy at the moment, but we'll get those nicely labelled up. We've got obviously we've got halyard winches and reef line winches here, and also this is actually the main sheet. So the main sheet is always on this winch here when under sail. So I'm not going to try and explain which all these jammers actually do. It's all pretty obvious. Yeah, good. So just to show you the 2 water tank fillers and the fuel filler, here on the starboard quarter we've got the fuel filler, the diesel, and then on the port quarter we've got the aft water tank filler, and then right forward on the port side, just forward of the shrouds, you can see the forward tank filler. Okay, so let's get up and have a look at the coach roof here. By the way, these of course are the jack stays for clipping on. We've got a deck brush here on the starboard side. On the port side we've got the boat hook, and of course we've got our inflatable dinghy rolled up and stowed nicely on the deck there. Let's just walk to the mast then. I just wanted to show you the reefing system for the mainsail. So if I expose this, okay, let's take a look. So this is not a lazy bag, so this bag actually just is taken off the boom, folded up and stowed away when you're underway. And the reefing system on this vessel, we have 3 reefs. The first 2 reefs are single line reefs, so hauling down on the first reefing line and indeed the second reefing line is going to pull down both the luff and the leach of the sail. The third reefing line, for the luff of the sail, we need to find this nice big ring, this big earring here, and clip it on here. So having clipped it on there, we can tighten up the luff and then haul down on the appropriate third reefing line, and there you have it, you've got your third reef in. Just to finish off, the only other thing up at the mast here, everybody, is your topping lift, and it's this nice blue one here, stowed and made off at the mast. Otherwise, everything else is led aft to the cockpit. Okay, so just moving forward then to the anchor locker, let's have a little look in here. So, up she comes, and got a lovely new chain here. So, pretty straightforward, everybody. So remember, the engine must be running. We must make sure that the anchor trip switch down by the batteries is on, and then we can simply take this keypad out of here, and we've got an up down button, as simple as that. So off she goes. The chain is marked up every 5 meters with a cable tie, and we have 40 meters of chain and then 20 meters of warp. You'll also notice that the green can down there, that is actually the petrol can for the outboard motor. So in case it leaked, then if it did it in here, then it's just going to go straight out to the sea, so it's nice and safe. Okay. On the port side, on this on the push bit here, we have the little Honda outboard. So just to run through you how that works, first we need the little kill cord, so that's going to go into this position here, and then obviously put that around your wrist, clip it to your wrist or around your leg or whatever. Then we need to turn the fuel on. That's just on the side of the motor here, so just fuel on, give it a bit of air, so open up the top lid here, and for the first pull, let's put a bit of choke on. Position this to the start position, which is just this little arrow, just bring it up to that start position there. Okay, and then off we go. Okay, you can see this has got a centrifugal clutch on this little Honda, so there's no gear stick as such. It's all done on the throttle, so you can see the propeller isn't spinning at the moment. As I increase the revs, it engages the propeller, yeah? So very, very simple. She's air cooled, so don't expect any water to come out of it, and I'm happy to run it on the boat here because she's air cooled. Okay, that's it. So to stop the engine, simply remove the kill cord. There we go. And then remember just to close the fuel off and close the fuel off here. And that's it, job done.